Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. How are we all doing? Has anyone got anything they want to share from the week?
Hi, everyone.
Hey. Are we all doing good?
Yes.
Good. Nobody anything exciting they want to share?
Well, I've just put my dressage test in.
Hey, that's awesome. Who did you decide?
I'm back on Little Lou.
That's amazing.
And that's the positive thing. I'm back on. It's the worst test ever, but I put it in anyway. Just to show you that I'm back on, really.
Yeah.
It's better than my test because I haven't done one.
He was diagnosed with PSSM1 last week.
Yeah. And is that something you can manage? I don't know a lot about that, I'll be honest.
Well, it's genetic, so there's no... But you've just got to keep him sugar as low as possible.
Yeah. And it will improve the symptoms.
Yeah, but the worst thing is he's Houdini act when you try to keep him off the grass.
He's not enjoying that.
Well,
Sorry, go on, Julie.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I thought you'd finished. Sorry. I've had a good week. People were very helpful. I emailed a couple of weekends ago to say I probably really dipped in confidence more than ever. And I had a one-to-one with Alex on Monday, and I've just felt so different since then. Yeah, you're just a witch, Alex, in a very positive way.
You've put the hard work in, Julie, so give yourself a pat on the back. And now it's about keeping that consistency going now. So well done.
Yeah.
Really pleased.
I feel like you did some magic spell or something, because I feel like, very different. I'm going to the beach, a different horse, but I'm taking a different horse to the beach tomorrow and Saturday, which is a first. So yeah, just need to then get back on my big fella and hopefully translate some of the confidence that I've had this week from a less forward going horse onto mine when I get back on.
That's exciting. I'm expecting some beach pictures tomorrow then.
Yeah.
So well done. Thank you. It's nice. Always good to start the turn. It's been great. Thank you. So let's share the screen. Make sure I've pressed record, and then we will start tonight's session. So we have done affirmations before. If some of you have been with us for a while, if you haven't, you might not have done this with us, but you will see other trainings within your members area on affirmations. And the reason I want to touch on it again from a different angle tonight is because it's something that is so easy for you all to implement. It really takes seconds, and it's really, really powerful. The science behind it is really good. And it's not something that takes hours out of your day. It's something that you've put the time into now. You guys, you've turned up, you're here. You can literally decide what it's going to be tonight within this hour, and then implement it daily in less than a couple of seconds, and it will make a difference. So what I wanted to do, though, is go through the science of it a bit tonight, because I think when you understand the science behind something a little bit, it gives you a kick up the bum to do it. Because I think affirmations, for me anyway, but please shout up if you've got any different preconceptions of them. But because they're so mainstream in the media, you know, sort of saying to yourself, I can do this rather than I can't do this, the kind of affirmations that I've written there on this first screen, I think it's very easy to kind of pass them off as a bit hairy-fairy. Would anyone else have that kind of maybe preconception of them a little bit?
Yeah.
You know, can they actually make that much difference? Would anyone think that?
Yeah, I would have thought that before we started with the group.
Yeah. So I just wanted to cover it again, just to, if anybody isn't implementing them yet, or perhaps you started implementing them for a few weeks, but then you kind of dropped off implementing them, or maybe you are implementing them, but after tonight you can refresh them, because that's really important as well, that as you grow as a person, as you grow in your confidence and your riding, you might find that actually it'd be more beneficial to start changing some of the stuff that you've written down. As always, as we go through, please interrupt. Don't feel like you have to stay on mute. Say what you're thinking. So I just wanted to start with what is it really quickly, in case anyone didn't know. So it's a word, a phrase, an image that reminds you of what you want to focus on. So it might be literally you speaking out loud, I can do this, or it might be a written word, or it might be an image. I quite like doing that. So I'll have in my office pictures of something that I'm striving for. For me, that acts as a really good reminder of a why and a motivator. So use what works for you. And it's not technically an affirmation in the dictionary sense, but another thing that works very similar is if you've got a song that kind of, really, motivates you and pumps you up before you ride, and or it has lyrics that mean something to you. It can be anything that makes your brain notice what you want it to notice. And that's the importance is it's individual to you, what's going to work. So have a look at what we talk about tonight and then think, right, what is going to be quite powerful for me as an individual? And it might be something that we don't even discuss tonight. So I said I'd talk about the science, and I wanted to look at how. Yes, Julie.
Right. Do you think this is something that is natural but we grow out of? Because my little granddaughter, when she's riding, and she won't know about this type of stuff, she'll be riding around and she'll say to him, "Come on, we've got this."
Yeah.
And she always does it. She's going up to a jump or something. She'll be like, "We've got this." And I just wonder if it, in the same ways we might sometimes talk to ourselves to, I have got a bit of a habit of going, right, when I've got to motivate myself to get crack on. So do you think it's something that is sort of natural, but you lose it or something?
Yeah, I think it is definitely natural. We definitely talk to ourselves on a daily basis. The problem is, as we grow up, unfortunately for a lot of us, the way that we speak to ourselves starts to become negatively slanted rather than as we are as a child, which tends to be much more positive for most of us and much more can do. And that's what changes. So most of you will have some sort of internal dialogue that does play out throughout the day. But for a lot of you, it might not be, come on, you can do this, or something that's kind of changing things for the better. But yeah, absolutely, kids are definitely, from teaching kids, I hear them doing stuff like that all the time. Come on, I can do it, and no one's ever even told them to do that, but they're stepping in and telling themselves that they can. Yeah, 100% agree. I think it is quite natural. And really, Julie, even if you didn't write down an affirmation in the sense that we've talked about tonight, just having that awareness of your self-talk and making sure that it is focusing you on what you want is pretty powerful in itself. Does that help? So how? Neuroplasticity. So we've talked about this. We did a full talk on this a few weeks ago, so I've popped this as the first one. And that's just knowing that your brain has this amazing capability for change. And affirmations are one of the ways that you can help build new pathways and new associations, which are focusing you on something different. So a really simple way of thinking about this is, for example, if you wanted to not eat snacks out the fridge, and then you'd put your affirmation on the fridge that said, "Come on, Alex, have some willpower." Let's say I had that sticky note on the fridge. It would just tip you over the edge to try and build that new neural pathway of strength and resilience to not go and get the thing that I wanted out of the fridge. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a really, really simple way of thinking about it. So, going wrong way here. So I wanted to talk a bit tonight about the RAS system. So we've talked about it before, but you may not have heard me go into this much detail. So you would definitely, all of you will have heard me talk about perception. You must have if you've listened to me for more than a week. So we've talked before about that events happen in your environment at any one time, and you can't take in all of that information at once. You have to have a filter system. And the RAS is that system. So it helps you decide, what information am I going to attend to? So if we all think about this moment right now, you are listening to my voice, but if I made you consciously aware, you can probably also notice maybe your seat bones in the chair that you sat on, maybe how hard or soft your chair is, maybe how dry or not dry your mouth is, probably even some things in your peripheral vision that you weren't aware of till I've just said. Now, all that was still there. Your brain was still aware of all that. It's getting all that sensory information from what you see, what you hear, what you touch all the time, but it just cannot attend to it all at once. So you have to have a system that decides what we're going to attend to. And by using these affirmations, you can encourage this system to focus on what you want it to and leave out the bits that you don't. Okay, so what it is. It has loads of different capabilities beyond being a filter system, but we don't need to go into that in too much detail. The main thing that I want you to think about is that it's the thing that decides what we're going to focus on, okay? So I've got an example here. If you've noticed in a really busy room, maybe you're in a nightclub, you hear your friend say, "Hey, Julie," and you notice their voice. Up above and beyond all of the room, you can notice their voice. And that's a really good example of the RAS system at work. Following me so far?
Is that because you're listening for that?
Not necessarily. You might be dancing away with your pal, you're not really listening for it, but your brain is attuned to that person's voice.
Right.
And it's so subconsciously you know that voice, you're aware of it, so you hear it. Another example that's maybe more related to positive thinking. Let's say you're dancing. Let's use the same example. You're dancing on the nightclub, and someone who maybe is more attuned to focus on something negative. Let's say they fall over, they slip or something. This person might, if they are tuned to notice the negative, might notice straight away that someone at the far end of the room has looked at them. Yeah. Whereas someone who wasn't attuned to notice the negativity might not have noticed that at all. They just might be thinking about whether they spilt the drink. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So it's what you're pre-programmed to be paying attention to, and voices that we know are something that we are naturally programmed to notice. Making sense so far? Same as like, I noticed this with my mum the other week, actually. I was trying to get her attention in a busy, playgroup type setting, nursery setting thing. And I was shouting, Sharon, 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 like this, and she wasn't listening. And I went, Mum, and she looked straight away. It's that same kind of thing. She was paying attention to that. But as soon as I said Mum, she was straight away more aware.
You would never think that, would you?
Pardon?
That does happen quite a lot, but yeah, I would never have put that down to something like, this RAS. I would never. I suppose it's because I didn't know.
Yeah, and it's we've talked about it a lot, but we've just not gone into that much depth. And I just thought it's interesting to know, because it gives you that little bit of motivation to go, this is a thing that I can actually influence for the better. So it's a gatekeeper of information. Okay, so without it, your brain would be overwhelmed. So if people have a problem with this system, they display behaviors of overwhelm, which I won't go into too much detail of, but it's really important. Okay, so if you imagine trying to process every sound, every sight, every feeling all at once, absolutely overwhelming. Okay, so instead it decides what's relevant. But what's key, guys, is what's relevant for me won't be what's relevant for Julie, which won't be what's relevant for Janet, which won't be what's relevant for Emma and Vicky and Leslie. Does that make sense? So you will all have a different set of information in the storage system, if you like, which is made up of all your memories, all your core beliefs, all your personal experiences that are completely unique to you. So we won't have the same filter systems. That makes sense?
Mm.
So it continually develops all the time. Okay, so it helps you focus your attention. Now, how does affirmations relate to this? Okay, so if we're engaging in a particular goal, or let's say we want to change a core belief or something like that. So, and I use this example all the time, don't I, which I've put here. If you want to buy a specific type of car, let's say you think, oh, I might try a Volvo. Yeah, so when I was thinking lately, I've swapped to a Volvo. When we were looking at that, I noticed loads of Volvos all over. There weren't suddenly more Volvos on the road. My RAS system just went, this is important, right? Let's look for this. That makes sense? People say they do it if they're thinking of buying a new horse. They suddenly see horse adverts bloody everywhere. There's not suddenly more horses for sale. You're just more aware of that thing. That makes sense?
Mm.
Okay, so this is the system that we're going to be influencing. And I wanted to tell you that before we went into the other ways of how, because what you can think about as we go through this is, right, oh, okay, this is how it's influencing my RAS system. So the power of repetition. The more you hear something, the more you believe it. And advertising uses this load. So big brands will put themselves in front of you as often as possible, because literally that, the more you see it, the more you believe it, the more you trust it. And so even if you're saying something out loud that at the beginning maybe feels a little bit icky, maybe you'd like to believe it, but it's not where you are yet. The more you say it, the more your brain hears you say it, you will believe it. You will come to believe it. And it'll become more natural for you to behave in line with it, rather than, and it'll start to feel a little bit of a like cognitive dissonance to actually behave against it. Okay? Any questions so far?
Yeah.
Good, Leslie? Good to go, all right, Janet? Good. So, the other thing it's really great for is combating negative self-talk. So you mentioned that at the start there, Julia, that, you know, kids being able to say, come on, we've got this. And as adults, as we get older, most of us tend to slip a bit the other way. And affirmations are really good for countering this and offering something more positive to believe in. And if you think about what we said, you know, in the nightclub and you hear someone's voice, what this does is it just sets you up to notice something more positive. And your brain is amazing at doing this. There's a really good study which used kind of priming, which is the science behind this. It wasn't an affirmation, but I think it's a great study to kind of show you how powerful setting yourself up is. So they had two groups of students and they put them in a lift with the same stranger. And they gave one of the students, as they were going up, there was sort of 50 plus in each cohort, so pretty big numbers for the study. It might have been even more than that. And they gave one of them cohorts a hot cup of hot chocolate to go in the lift. And they gave the other cohort an iced coffee. Okay. And then they set them off with the stranger and they asked them afterwards, when they'd gone on the lift journey, you know, how did you perceive the stranger? And the ones who had the hot drink perceived the exact same stranger as more friendly, more approachable, happier. Whereas the other people with the cold drink said, oh, he was a bit aloof. I wouldn't have said hello to him. Same exact person. And that is how amazing your filter system is at being primed through what you know. And we're primed as human beings. It's going off topic a little bit, but I think it just shows how influenced we are without even realizing it, just in your subconscious. And you're primed from, you know, the word when you're born, that you want warmth. That means security. It means you're close to your mother. And a warm feeling is always that nice, cozy, friendly feeling. And we're primed subconsciously to think that. Okay, so your subconscious is so effective. So when you think about in this terms, like negative self-talk, it's a really good one that I like. I'll share, and you've probably heard me say this one before, was a study that was a smiling study, and how just by going down the street, and I'll make it a bit of a shorter version, but by smiling at one person, that person then went on and was much more likely to act in a positive way with the next social interaction that they had. And I find that myself, you know, if you start your day with something positive happens, whether it's conscious or not, but let's say you've had a good morning, you get in your car and for whatever reason, someone's a bit of a, you know, they pull out in front of you or something like that. If you've had a good positive morning, you're way more likely to put your hand up and say, oh, don't worry about it. Whereas if you've had a really stressful morning, you're the same person. You haven't suddenly changed into an ass, but you're way more likely to be like, oh, for God's sake, you know, when really they've just accidentally pulled out, you know? Does that make sense? Can you relate to that a little bit?
Yeah.
So you're not changing who you are as a person. You've probably noticed yourself on different days. You is the same person with the same personality, just from how you've been primed earlier in that day, can respond differently to a situation that's presenting itself, okay? So if you set yourself up on a morning to notice something more positive about yourself, you will be more likely to notice positive things that are happening towards you throughout the day. So you will feel better about yourself by the end of the day. And throughout the day, it has a continual knock-on effect, because the more positive you're acting, the more positive reactions you get back from everybody else. So it spirals in the right direction. Making sense? Okay. So the caveat, and this is why we're doing this tonight, they do need to resonate. So if you're trying to say something which is way too far out for where you are at the minute, it can actually have the opposite effect and make you feel a little bit kind of resentful towards that, and almost even notice why it isn't true. So it's important that the affirmation that you choose is stretching you, it is moving you, but it's something that you relate to. You know, by writing it down, you think, yeah, I want that. You don't write it down and think, ugh, who's that person, you know? So a couple of ideas for you, because we're going to decide what ours are going to be before the end of this call. Core beliefs are a really good one. So if you've gone through any of the core belief training with us together, you should know where you wanted to work on with that. If you haven't, go into the members area, and there's kind of 4 key trainings on it, and it's a really good one to do. But if you know that there's certain core beliefs that are affecting your riding, this is a good one to do it around. So can anyone give me an example of something that they might be working on with a core belief? Does anyone mind sharing something like that? I can share one if not.
I think self-belief.
Yeah, self-belief. So that's great, Leslie. So that could be something like I am good enough.
Yeah, that's it.
Would
Yeah.
be, you know, would be a really simple contrary to that. But you'd use your own words. So what tends to happen is, you know, in the media, you might see that I've just said straight away, I am good enough. But it might be boss it girl, or you know, for God's sake, get on with it. Or, you know, what did you had a really good one, Janet? What was yours?
I was get on with it. Yeah.
Get on with it. Yeah. You know, it might be something in your own words, whatever resonates with you is really important, you know, and you might like to speak in a kind, slow, soft voice to yourself. You might like to have humor in it. You might hate humor in it, or you might want it to sound quite firm and sort of kicking yourself up the bum. Whichever you want it to be, that's the right answer. Okay. You might want to make one that's a bit riding goal specific. So it might be that there's a specific area that you keep, you know, kind of letting yourself down a little bit and getting a bit frustrated with yourself. And you just want to remind yourself in the moment. So perhaps you keep meaning to go in the arena, but then you get there and you think, oh, I'll just go out for a hack. You might write a little sentence that you stick on the tack room door that just reminds you why you should go in the arena that day. So you see it just when you're going to get your tack. Yeah. For me, I know one thing that I do when I get anxious, and you've probably gone through this again. You'll know now, hopefully, how you start to act when you're anxious. You'll all have things that you do. Some of you will get busy. Some of you will go quiet. Some of you might get chatty. We all do polar opposites and difference and everywhere in between. But once you know what your reactions are to anxiety, you could put something in that kind of steps in and changes that. So mine is I get even more rushy than my normal rushiness, and I start forgetting things even more than I normally forget things. So I always have in my, like if I go to a competition, I have in my little grooming kit that's got my plaque bands and that, I have a little stick-it note in there that just says, take a breath, slow down. So for me in that moment, I don't need to read it every day, but it's just there in those moments when I know I might start to get rushing about a bit. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I'll just check the chat because someone's in the chat. Oh, hi, Judy. For some reason, I can't see you here. Oh, there you are. I see you now. Oh, hi, Sue. You're here as well. I cut you off, guys. Sorry. Julie says, we'll give it a go. I like that one. We'll give it a go. Perfect. And that's a good one, Judy, because that's definitely encompassing that growth mindset of it doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to go off. We're going to give it a go. That's good. I like that one. Now I've got this one, behavior. So there might be some certain behaviors that you do. So I said about the fridge earlier. I've put the dog there because that's one I'm working on at the minute, and this is a really silly one, that might seem very unimportant, but it's winding me up. So every time I go to get my dogs on the lead, they start barking like lunatics. And then I start barking back at them. And I realize that this is not the right behavior. So I've just, by the leads now, got a little thing that says, before you get the leads, go get a treat and ask them to sit down. And I know when I do that, it's absolutely, it's fine. But if I don't do that, we end up with like World War III. So that just reminds me in the moment, because I always think, oh, I haven't got time for that. I'll just go get the leads. And then it takes me 5 minutes longer because I have, pandemonia as we're trying to get the dogs on the lead. So you can use this for something really, really important, like your self-esteem, developing a growth mindset, perfectionism. Or you can use it for something that's a simple habit that you're trying to kick that's just not booting out the door, and everywhere in between. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Anyone getting any ideas at this point? What you think you're going to go for?
Just writing some notes.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Write some notes.
Good. So, always goes the wrong way, this. So so you've got so many options when you might do this, how are you going to do this? So a really popular one, which I actually think is really good, and I do recommend this a lot if you're trying to boost self-esteem, is to say it into the mirror to yourself. Because that has a double, pardon?
Just feels weird. I've tried that.
Did you? Yeah. And that's the thing. Sometimes, once you've tried it, if you don't like it, that's fine. Try a different way. I've been trying it. I do find it really weird myself, actually. But I do think there's something quite heart-hitting about looking at your own face, because I think it hits home quite hard. I almost found it quite if emotional is the right word, but a little bit kind of touchy, because you definitely look at yourself and think, oh, you haven't done all these things, that you're going to do.
You're right. Actually, yeah, I do think you're right. I think there is that part of you that goes, oh, I don't really want to look myself in face.
Yeah, and that's why it's a really, really powerful one. So
long
as
the words, awkward.
Yeah,
very awkward.
Yeah, I found it exactly the same, a bit like, oh, but I'm getting better though, and it's one of those that you only know yourself, whether it's a yakkiness that says, no, that's not me, and it's never going to be. And that's not because I'm touching something I need to work on, because sometimes when it starts to feel a little bit, it's because that is what you need to be doing. Yeah. So you've got to be really honest with yourself. Sometimes you don't like it. You just don't like it. It's not you. That's absolutely fine. Move on. Only you truthfully know which is the right answer with those things. But sometimes when you hit a bit of a resistance, it means it's something you should be saying. But just be true to yourself when you're deciding what to write down. Another one that I like is just having a little post-it note in your diary, or under your windscreen visor in your car, in your tack room, in your grooming kit, that somewhere where you're going to see it regularly is a good one. Then there's also making them habit specific. So if it's a specific habit, can you place them where it's going to be? If when do I cave on this thing, could you place it there in those to catch you in the moment? Is another really good way. The other thing is, which I do again really encourage this with people, is could you say it out loud in a certain way? So, for example, there's a lady I've been working with, and we've been working on increasing her confidence to say the competitive goals that she wants. She tends to keep them to herself. Okay, so to give you a little bit of context. So we've been saying to herself, she's been saying about the goals that she wants. She's been writing them down, making herself feel more comfortable with it. And then we said, right, well, next step is go tell your go tell your coach. So you might change the wording a little bit. You know, you wouldn't go up to your coach and say, I am worthy, because they'd be thinking, what's she going on about? But you might go up to your coach and say, hey, look, you know, I actually really want to step up to this level. Can you help me get there? Does that make sense? So that's another way you can add a little bit of, you know, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, punch to it, you know, is by doing it out loud, saying it to somebody else, making sure that you're acting in a way that conforms to the affirmation that you've written down. And what you'll notice is once you've written it down and you've got a few things that you're doing, that you will notice a dissonance in yourself if you act not in alignment to it. So if you've said in the morning, I am worthy, and then you get to work, for example, and someone slaps a load of stuff that's not your job on your desk, and you know it's not your job, and then you just stay really quiet and you do it anyway and you don't say a word, but really you knew that that was one of the things you wanted to address, you'll notice it straight away when you stay really quiet and you don't do anything. And the first couple of days you might you might have to think, I didn't dare do it, but you keep saying it, and you'll mull it over and you'll come up with a plan, and you'll think, right, and by day 4 you'll think, right, I've got my little plan, so what I'm going to do when that happens. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Thing is, when you say it out loud to somebody else, then that's when it becomes real or serious, doesn't it? If you're writing it down or if you're just talking to yourself about it, you can prevaricate a little bit.
Yeah.
But by saying it to another person, it's actually out there then, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a little bit what happens when you say it to yourself in the mirror. You experience that same kind of because you can see another person, and even though you know it's you, it sounds like it feels like, is the only way I could describe it, and this is what other people have said actually, is that it feels like you have to believe it, because you don't want to lie to the face that's in the mirror. And it's the same when you kind of speak to somebody else and you're sort of waiting for that feedback from them, aren't you? And you know what how they're going to perceive it, how they're going to react to it as well. And what you will find when you start changing things is that, you know, people will react differently, and people will react, and again, this is a bit off topic, but I think it's important, people will react positively, and some people will act neutrally, and some people might even act a little bit negatively. And especially I've seen this in yard situations, you know, if someone starts to grow in confidence, for example, and then starts to change, you know, what the expectation that they are going to allow or things like that. And some people, you know, it changes the status quo and they're not ready for it. Some people can then react differently. So it's important to know that sometimes if someone does react negatively, it doesn't mean always that you've done something wrong. It sometimes just means that the status quo is changing. And then it's important to just take that step back and go, okay, is this a me thing or is this not a me thing? Again, don't react in the moment, and speak to those that are close to you, that you can maybe soundboard these things off as you start making changes. Okay, so here we go. What's it going to be? And I would suggest that you pick one that you're going to do tonight that you're going to change, because you've probably got a few different ideas. Unless you're a super motivated person, which is fine, but for most people, 1, 2 max I will allow that you're actually going to do for a significant period of time every single day. Every day, every single day. Okay.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because if you pick too many, they won't stick. So pick one that's going to make the biggest difference, the most profound difference for you, and use that one. Just give it a shot for me for maybe 3 months every single day. And then after that time, if you think, I'm bossing that thing now, then you can move on to the next one. And you might just leave that one as a nice little picture somewhere that you notice every now and again. Yeah?
Can I just give you 2 examples that I've thought of? I don't know whether these are slightly a cop-out, but I'm thinking about my riding, I'm thinking about Gracie, and I'm thinking about the C word, obviously, about tomorrow and stuff, and all that kind of thing, and all the issues that are around that. but it's always been a real driver for me to change Gracie's story. And I think we've talked about this before, that I don't want Gracie to be known as one of those bad horses or what. I want to prove that she's not that what we're doing is treating her carefully and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Anyway, so my first thing was to put in the tack room, or to have, before I go riding, let's change Gracie's story.
Yeah.
That's always been it, but I don't know whether that's a cop-out, because that's not, it's more of a driver than an affirmation to change my feelings. I don't know the difference. What's the driver and what's an affirmation?
That's fine. That's an affirmation. So long as you reading that, Leslie, to you means something that would get you to ride and behave in the way that you want to. Yes, it does. It kind of, because the other one I flipped on, which is the very similar, but it kind of flips it back towards me, is you alone are changing Gracie's story. Yeah, I think either. Yourself. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of, but I didn't know which one was, are they both affirmations then? Yeah, the answer is whichever one you're going to read and think, right, come on, let's go do it. Right, in the way I want to do it. Whichever one for you read it and you think, that resonates, that makes me want to go ride to the best of my standard right now. Yeah, it does. Then that's the right one. Does. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That makes sense? Yeah. Ask.
Two things, just to speak to that point really, and I mentioned about Lily, the granddaughter. Hers, I feel like stealing hers, because hers is, we've got this. And I really like that, because it's a little bit like what's just been said. The fact that she says we, it's like she's taken some responsibility for the horse's behaviour too. So I think, because that takes, it just changes the focus for me a little bit, to stop me being so nervous and think of it more like a partnership, to say, come on, Elvis, we've got this, we're doing this together type of thing. Yeah. I like that one. Yeah. But I was also thinking about the second one, which I'm not sure is an affirmation. It sort of is, but I don't know if I could do this every day. Sorry, I'll just spit it out. One of the things that I think my problem is I just don't give myself the time. So I think what I need to do is to say, I deserve the time. I deserve the hour a day or whatever it needs to be. So I remind myself not to cancel the lesson because work pressures have just got too busy or whatever. So
that's a really important one.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, you've really got to treat your appointments with yourself as an appointment like you would with anything else that's a top priority. And then you and your riding becomes a top priority. And you've kind of this is again going off topic a little bit, but maybe what you could do either after this call or tomorrow, when you've got time, when you've got half an hour, Julie, sit down with that affirmation, I deserve the time, and just think why, and write down a few reasons why it actually is really important that you get that time to ride. Why? What does that mean to you? And what does it mean if you don't give yourself that time? So that when you read that sentence, I do deserve the time, it will then resonate to all those whys that you've written down, of that it actually is really important. And I'm not going to give you those reasons because it has to be your reasons, but take the time to do that as well. Okay. And it might be worth doing it at the end of the day as well. I don't know when you normally do your planning. Are you a morning planner, an evening planner?
By nature, I'd be better in the morning, but then I'm in work. So for this type of thing, I'd probably do it in the evening.
Yeah, because even if when you sat down, at whatever time you just look at your calendar, maybe you have it written on your calendar, and you're going to look and you're going to see where the time is tomorrow. Have it there, maybe like I deserve the time, so you can look at the calendar and think that's where the time is. And when you're perhaps doing your planning for the week ahead, whenever you do that, have it in all those places so it just pops up in those moments when you're likely to think, oh, I'll say yes to that.
Yeah, thank you.
And the other thing, Julie, I'm just throwing this out there again, a bit off topic, but I resonate with this one massively. So I was a big I'm too busy person. I probably still do it a little bit, but I've been working on it. And for a long time, Julie, I really thought I was just too busy. And I genuinely believed that story. I thought, oh, you're just working all the hours and you're doing this. That's why you can't go and do your competing, because you're working, because you teach, because you're busy. And when I really looked at it, I thought, well, yes, I am, but it was my choice to say yes to those lessons on a Sunday or the things that I was doing. And I did have the choice to say no, and I could have arranged it on a different day. And once you take that kind of charge of it, and then you think about what was I trying to put off here? And sometimes it's that bit of fear lurking and going, actually, am I going to really give myself a shot to do this or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really taking the bull by the horns and going, actually, it's kind of a very good way of putting things off, and not giving yourself the opportunity to go, can I do it? Which is what I was doing. It was easier to say I haven't time to step up a level than it was to say, can I actually do it?
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else got any ideas?
I think the situation I've been in, I think mine's going to be trust your instincts and your knowledge, because when little Lou's behaviour got so extreme and I fell off 3 times in a fortnight, I immediately went down the I'm not good enough, my leg's weak, I'm too old, I'm not confident, and all of that. And all of that spiraled out of control with me jumping up and down. And then when I actually stopped and thought about it, I thought, no, actually, listen to your pony, silly girl, listen to your pony and see what, and I knew there was something wrong with him, because it wasn't his normal cheeky, silly behaviour. There was something else. And I should have listened to that in the first place. So mine is listen to your gut instinct and your own knowledge.
I love that one, because we do in those moments go straight to what we're primed to notice, which unfortunately in that moment was, God, am I good enough to ride this pony?
Yeah.
Whereas, like you say, once you had that reflective time, you did know enough to go, yeah, actually, I need someone to look at this. I love that. Yeah, trust your instinct.
Yeah, and what I was feeling was not the lack of confidence. When I actually sat on him and thought about what is going on here, he was actually tying up.
Really? Yeah.
And then kicking me off because he had cramp. And when you actually sit there, you can feel him tying up like a little rubber ball.
Yeah. Oh,
but that isn't the road I went down. I immediately went down, it's all my fault, and the usual road. So don't go down that road automatically.
Yeah, but you know what? Big learning curve, Janet.
Yeah.
And you've done amazing, and that's why I kind of wanted to give you that pat on the back about it, because I think you really have shown a hell of a lot of resilience lately. And I'm excited to see the test. I'm going to go have a look now. You've got it in. There's been a lot going on, Janet, and there he is. He's back. He's doing his walk and trot test.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
We haven't canted yet, I have to say.
Well, the canter challenge is beginning. It's got a bit out of hand. It's got a little bit more exciting than I originally planned. As I started planning it, I was like, oh, we could go a bit further with this. So you've got workbooks and exercise and all sorts, guys. So it will be probably next Monday. I'll put that out for you all.
A canter challenge. Oh my God.
Yes, we're doing a members canter challenge.
I've had Grace nearly 18 months now, and I'm still not cantering. So we're still having issues. So I'm right there with you, babe. I'm me kindred spirits, mate, honestly. Oh.
Well, there's a lot of you that I know are needing to improve the canter or get into canter for one reason or another. There's some of you that we need to get into canter. There's some of you that are cantering, but we're worried about perhaps long open spaces or downhill, stuff like that. And then, like Emma, we need to get you working the canter through and just as good at the track. So for all different reasons, the canter challenge is going to be good, and it's going to encompass you all. So yes, Janet, that'll be good. You can participate in the canter challenge, and we'll get going. Yeah.
Can't wait.
That'd be good. Cool. Has anyone else got any questions about how you're going to do your affirmations? Have you all got an idea what you're going to go and do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Vicky, Judy, Sue, are you okay? I know sometimes.
Yep, I'm good, thank you.
Good. Are you sticking with yours?
Yeah, I like that one. It doesn't put loads of pressure on you. You have a go and see, and then I find it works out better.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I like that one.
That's great.
I've also got a little thing that a girl at school gave me once. It's a really nice, sweet little note telling me that I must always remember how amazing I am and supportive I am. It's really nice, and I just keep it in my phone all the time, and it's like an affirmation, but somebody else has written it. And
That's really nice.
and I just see it every single day, and it reminds me. So it's a bit of a different way of doing it, really. So that was quite sweet.
That's really nice. I love that.
But yeah, I'm all good. I like mine.
Good. I like yours. I like yours a lot. Sometimes children have a way with words. There was a little girl once, I remember, I always repeat her little sentence that she said once, because we were at Pony Club camp and I was teaching, and it was sort of the competition day, and everyone was getting really quite stressed about the plats, and this particular girl's mum was getting very stressed. And she just came up to me in a moment, she said, "Mummy, just don't care." She was only sort of 4 years old, and I just thought, what wise words. Just don't care. The plat had just fallen out. For me, just don't care. And then when we took a really deep breath, and I thought that was good. That was good. That was needed in that moment.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, because it's true though, isn't it? I mean,
You
don't have to get so stressed over it and care.
No. Oh.
It was a good little wise words from the 4-year-old. I've always remembered that.
Oh.
So were you okay? Have you got a few ideas?
Yeah. Good.
Good. Super. Right. Well, I'm gonna. If there's any more questions? Any questions about anything else unrelated?
Nope.
Got a question about how is it applied? Like, as in, I get that it's like something positive to say, but is it about something that you're working on? Is it like a particular thing that's on your mind that you want to get better at?
Yeah, 100%. So you can use it for so many different things. So you can choose, which would be more beneficial for you, Sue. So it might be that you are working on an aspect of a core belief. So you want more self-esteem, or you want more positivity, something a bit more general like that. Or you might choose, you want to do it very riding specific, more skill set based. So an area, what's something you're working on you want to improve at the minute, and we'll see if we can pick it apart a bit, give you some more examples.
So sorry, I've been out all day and the dog's just desperate for some company. I'm I'm jumping higher gradually, but my canter needs to be even faster, and when we get the turbo kicked in, I don't like it. So my instructor's like, yeah, go, and I'm like, oh no, it is a good canter, but it's not like a turbo canter. So I suppose it's that hesitancy of it's bigger and faster than I'm quite comfortable with. But what I tend to tell myself, and what my instructor says as well, is just trust him, because he's not actually going to do anything. And if I didn't try and slow him down, we'd probably jump it a bit better, to be honest.
See, that's great. I love trust him. That's really good, and I like that you're all taking that partnership role tonight. That's really lovely. But you could expand it a little bit further if you wanted to. Something like trust him, and then you could have something that makes you imagine how great is it going to feel when you do let that canter go. And again, kind of your words, Sue, but it could be something like, I'll just put my words in for a moment so it makes sense. Something like, that canter's going to feel awesome, let it go. Or something like that you read kind of, before you get on. And even reading that every day, although you're not on yoga, You'll go to work, you go to wherever you go, and that image of that canter where you've let it go just plays through in your brain, you know, when you're not even on the horse, and it is, you know, really effective. Or you could use it for something a little bit more away from that. So you could think, you know, why is it that I don't want to let the canter go? Right, well, I need to trust myself. So it might be trust my skills, trust my horse. So you can kind of make it what you want. That help a little bit?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I have got your message as well, Sue. I'll get back to you in a moment. As soon as this call's finished, I'll drop you a message back.
That's fine. Everything is upside down and inside out at the moment, so there's no hurry.
No worries. That's exactly how we feel. We've all had a lovely sickness bug, so we're kind of on the catch up. Vicky, are you okay? If you don't answer, I'll let you go, because I know you could be with Arthur, but I'll just... Oh, she's unmuted. How are you doing with it?
I'm gonna put some on the group. Like, I've not had a very... I don't feel like I've made any progress in any area of my life in the last month. I feel like I've been treading water with everything. So
Okay.
I'll put something on the chat. I don't know. I think I'm just at that tricky stage of having a baby.
I was just going to say, do you feel it's a kind of life transition period, or equine
He's
related?
given up sleep, like literally completely given up sleep pretty much. We were away at the weekend and he slept for 5 hours for the full weekend. And yet he's still absolutely full of energy. I honestly don't understand how. Even the childminder messaged me today and was like, does he ever sleep? And I was like, no, she's tried everything to get him to nap. He just will not nap, doesn't sleep overnight. Like, yeah. And my husband's been poorly for the last week as well. So I've been like trying to juggle everything. And my work is just ridiculous. They made loads of redundancies. So then there's loads of extra work for everyone else. And then, yeah, I just...
You know what yours should be, you know, just for a month or something, Vicky, because you are someone who always, which is amazing, and it's why you achieve what you do. This is not something I want you to change, but you are someone that always strives for more, which is a good thing. But sometimes when life throws this at you and you're not getting your sleep, just remind yourself that it's okay to stay still for a little bit.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a whole month. I've not barely been to the gym. I've not really been for a run. And I don't feel like I'm doing well at any of my roles in life at the minute. Like, I feel like every cup has got a bit in it. Like, I'm not excelling at any of them, which is a bit, I don't know.
If it makes you feel any better, Vicky, I had a little meltdown and said that exact sentence to my other half the other day. I think it does come with the territory of juggling a new life with your life, especially when they start not sleeping. So
I think as well, like the girl at the yard who was pregnant has just decided to just retire her horse. And so she left at the weekend, horse gone to a retirement yard. And part of me is like, she is going to regret this come about March time, 4 months after the baby's been born. She's going to realise she's lost a big bit of her identity. But also, obviously, part of me is thinking all that money and time she's going to get back and how it's going to make a lot of things a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I could never sell Rocky. I couldn't, because I know that I would be so depressed. But I think it's sort of brought... But I'm also I guess I'm a bit disappointed in her, because I feel like she's not even given it a go. Seeing how it would work out with the baby and the horse. I feel like this sounds awful, but I feel like she's done a bit of a disservice to our pony as well, because her pony is essentially just going to go and rot in a field, and she's not ready for that, I don't think. But it's the easy way out kind of thing. And I feel a bit, I don't know, obviously I've not said that to her because it's her life and it's her decision, but I feel a bit disappointed in her, but also I guess a bit jealous that that's one less cup that she's got to fill.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of made it all hit home a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always really interesting what we take from, looking at other people's situations. And one thing that's a hard truth, Vicky, but something to look at is we usually project, we project into other situations and other people qualities of ourselves. So you would look at that situation, and I know this is how you would think, if you'd chosen to turn Rocky out, you'd be purely disappointed with yourself and all of the things that you've just said. And so it's easy, your brain will naturally look at her situation and project that on, this is disappointing and you've not given it a go, and the pony's going to X, Y, and Z, but somebody else might look at that situation and think, oh, that's what she must do because she's got all this new responsibility and blah blah blah. And other people have opinions in the middle of it. So it's just really important to just think, do you know what? She might have pressures from elsewhere as well. You don't know. Maybe someone is saying that to her. I had an in-law comment to me, when are you going to stop riding?
Yeah, like I know she'll have had people in her ear, because when I was pregnant, obviously I rode till quite late, and I had I had to stop telling people I was riding, because every time I mentioned it, people would have a go and be like, oh, you shouldn't be, and it was really silly. And then as well, people were like, oh, you're not managed to cope when the baby's here. And my answer was, well, I'll have to, like, because as far as I was concerned, Rocky is like a family member, and if I'd had another child, I wouldn't be like, oh well, sorry Billy, you've got a new brother now, so we're just going to ignore you forever. Like, you just sort of have to crack on. But I think as well in my head is like, because we've got Arthur's surgery date, and I'm going to have like a month off work, and I'm anticipating not really leaving the house for a couple of weeks, and in my head, like, December is just a write-off. So then I feel like I can't afford to have a standstill month like I've had, because I'm going to have to effectively kind of restart things in January once, well, assuming Arthur's surgery goes well and he doesn't need any more. Like, I don't know, because we've been doing lots of planning for his surgery as well now. Like, I've got his hospital gown that's arrived. It's got patterned zebras on and things, and I've got him a teddy bear with stitches on where his stitches will be, and like, I guess it's kind of at the front of my mind now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
I think that's
yeah,
like would be if it wasn't at the forefront of your mind, you probably wouldn't be a mum, Vicky. I think that's absolutely normal, and I think if anything, give yourself a bit of you time and a bit of breathing space to just take in everything that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird as well, because like my brother has a baby who's pretty much the same age as Arthur, and they are like massive stress heads. And my dad said at the weekend, he was like, I don't understand how they're the ones that are stressed and you and Jack are so laid back about Arthur, when Arthur's the one that's got problems. And I guess in my head, and as well, like the condition that Arthur has, like there's loads of things like, being a parent is hard, but being a parent to this kind of baby is even harder and stuff. And then I think it sort of almost weighs on me of like, it's all I've known, but then I'm like, everyone keeps saying it's so much harder, and it's almost, again, it's like an affirmation, isn't it, that I keep hearing this, and then I'm like, I don't know, because he's not really, like, all the hard stuff is behind us, really. He doesn't have any tubes anymore, and like, you can't really tell there's anything wrong. He just has to have some surgery. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It will weigh on you, when people say, and like, people won't say it in a bad way. They're offering you a bit of sympathy, aren't they? That, oh, it's they're seeing how hard and expecting how hard it is to go through that emotionally and time-wise and physically and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I also wonder as well whether we're out of it enough now for it to sort of have caught up on me a bit. Like when you're in the thick of it, you're very much just sort of just cracking on. That's how I am anyway. When things are really bad, I seem to do quite well under that kind of pressure, and I just get on with stuff. And then it's after.
That makes absolute sense. And I wonder, Vicky, and Julie might be able to point you in a better direction than me. There might be groups or people that you can speak to that have experienced similar things.
Amusingly, we have a cleft group every couple of months, and I got asked by the cleft nurse if I would specifically talk to a parent who's got a baby with the same condition as Arthur, and they're earlier in their journey, and she wanted me to talk to the parents, because she was like, because you cope so well, and I want them to see like how things go and how it does get better and stuff. And do you know what, we met the other month, and she went from not wanting to talk to anyone to being like, oh, just give my number to whoever wants it. And she was like visibly relieved when she saw how well Arthur was doing, because she was like, has he actually got that? And I said, yeah. And she was like, but you can't tell. And I was like, no, you could when he was your baby's age, but just not now. So yeah, there is a group, but I guess I'm on the other side of it, of being the positive example of how good things get.
Vicky, I'm a trustee on a small charity for that supports parents with children that are unwell. And I don't directly, but we have counsellors on our books, for example, people to speak to, buddy up systems and whatnot. And often the case is some of our parents, like you, are really good good buddies to the other parents, because they're a bit further down the line, or they've got a different perspective, or whatever, and they can be quite inspiring. But I'd just say also look after yourself, because you've got such a lot on you. We don't know you, but from what I'm just hearing tonight, you've got such a lot on your plate. I think in terms of what support you might need, and if nothing else, just to give yourself a bit of space by being a bit kind to forgiving to yourself if things aren't. God, I haven't been in the gym for 15 years, never mind a month.
I mean, one of the good things is the day of his surgery, there'll be a psychologist, the cleft psychologist will be there.
Yeah.
The day of the surgery, so I can talk to them. Because as well, something else is I haven't booked my birth reflections thing because I keep saying I haven't got time. But obviously, it was a really traumatic birth. Like physically, it was not ideal because I had forceps and they did them in the room because they didn't have time to get me into theatre. So it was just done. And then they took him away for 2 hours and they told us he was going to die and like all of that. And I keep thinking, I just don't have time for the birth reflections, but I should probably maybe make the time.
Yeah. Vicky, if you want to take it offline, that it's free. Yeah, we've got we've got some parents that, not to put too fine a point on it, they've got post-traumatic stress from how they've been told a diagnosis, or if you think your child's going to die, that's pretty stressful, and that's going to hang around. And we've got counsellors on the books that help people through that. So if you want to take it offline, and if you want to have a call with me or that, I'd be really happy.
Thank you, and sorry for everyone for everyone's been so positive, and then I've come out with all this I don't know.
I know we've all been in that for very different reasons, but at some point in some journey throughout the year, one of us will be the one needing a pickup, and that was just the one thing I wanted to say, Vicky, is make sure that, because you are a very positive person and you are really good at supporting other people.
I'm really positive with others, I'm not with myself.
Yes, I think what Julie said there, make sure you're being kind with yourself, and also making that effort when you go to these things, that there's someone there supporting you and buddying you up, so that you don't become that it's great that you are still supporting somebody else, and keep doing that, but making sure you're just looking for, and maybe it is that, you could look, that counselling service sound great, Julie, but that something like that where somebody is the next step for you that can look and talk to you from the other side of it.
The offers there, if nothing else, even if you just Google Harry's Pals, which is the small charity I'm talking about. My daughter's got a chronically disabled and life limited child, and they had no support, which is why we thanks, Alex, which is why we set this charity up, because we've seen as a family firsthand, it's
Thank
hard.
you. And I would just like to say as well, my situation isn't even really that bad. It was bad at the start, but now to look at him, you would never know and stuff. And I think as well, that's the other thing, as I keep saying to myself, I'm being ungrateful, because obviously I met a lot of parents with very, very, very poorly children in hospital.
There's always somebody worse, but that doesn't mean you're not entitled to also figure things. You've still had a hard time.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry for
Don't be sorry.
That was not even horsey related at all, was it?
No sorries. And I think it's really important, and perhaps your thing to take away, Vicky, is that just try your best to be a bit kinder to yourself. Give yourself some space, and have a look for some support for you, that's just for you, that's which I appreciate it'll be really hard to do, that's not for Arthur or not for Jack or not for the situation, but just for Vicky, and you getting yourself feeling better is really important.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. I'm glad we could help. So thank you very much. Has anybody else got anything else they wanted to say before I leave you be? Quiet in the room. Right. I shall leave you guys to it. I'll see you next week. We'll be running through your dressage tests. I think I've got that right. Yeah, I've got that right. Next week, running through the dressage test. Don't feel if you haven't handed a dressage in, that is still your time to come along. If you want to ask anything to do with some schooling, or you just want to send a bit of a video in of what you're doing, or perhaps just a question about your schooling, or you just want to come along, soak it in and ask questions while you're there, that's absolutely fine. So I shall see you guys next week, and just where I am in between.
Bye. Bye. Bye everyone.